There ain't no future unless we build it now. There ain't no future unless we build it now. United States, Africa, we salute ya. A new state of mind, I introduce ya. Close your eyes and visualize the rise of a new paradigm. Solar powered skyscrapers.
Welcome to the Africa Must Unite podcast, a podcast dedicated to inspiring African people worldwide to rise up, organize, and struggle for Pan-Africanism, a unified, liberated, socialist Africa, the only permanent solution to the exploitation and oppression of African people, no matter where they happen to be born or happen to live in the world. Now please, welcome the hosts of Africa Must Unite.
Africa's future is now, so get ready.
Revolutionary and Pan-African greetings, brothers and sisters out there. I'm Mama D.
Revolutionary greetings. I am Pa Youth, an organizer for the Pan-African Revolutionary Socialist Party.
And this is the Africa Must Unite podcast. Welcome, welcome, everybody. It is wonderful to be here again in the month of October. And, you know, our calendar, we've been saying all year long, our 2022 calendar titled The African World is on Fire. Only a united socialist Africa can extinguish it. It's dedicated to the masses of our people all throughout global Africa who are suffering. And all this year, what we've been doing on our Africa Must Unite podcast is highlighting some of the states, some of the countries that are on fire. And this month, October, our focus is on Haiti. So we want to have a great discussion on the latest things that are going on in Haiti. But as always, before we focus on Haiti, we'd like to mention a few important dates in the month of October. And we're going to start with October 1st. Nigeria gains its independence in 1960. And on the same date, the victory of the Chinese People's Revolution, 1949. On October the 2nd, Guinea political independence day began on this day in 1958. Also on this date, the Mau Mau Rebellion in Kenya began in 1952. On the 6th of October, Fannie Lou Hamer, I'm sick and tired of being sick and tired, African freedom fighter, was born in 1917. And on the 9th of October, Che Guevara, Cuban freedom fighter, was killed in Bolivia in 1967. And Uganda gained its independence on October 9th in 1962. On the 14th, Julius Nyerere, first president of Tanzania, died in 1999. And on the 15th, Thomas Sankara, Pan-Africanist and president of Burkina Faso, assassinated in 1987. And I always like to think, when I think of Sankara, I'm always thinking of his speech that he made on women. The revolution cannot triumph without the emancipation of women. And just all the work that he did. And in his Thomas Sankara speaks, so many wonderful speeches that you see, and there are several dealing with the emancipation of women. So I just wanted to stop and say that. On the 16th of October, Jean Dessalines, revolutionary leader of Haiti, speaking of Haiti, was assassinated in 1806. On the 19th of October, Maurice Bishop, Grenadian Prime Minister and revolutionary leader of the New Jewel Movement, murdered in 1983. And I had a chance to to visit Grenada when he was prime minister, and everybody
Okay.
was saying, "Come on and go." And I said, "Well, maybe another time." I'm so sad that I missed that opportunity. It's terrible, but also on the 19th, Muammar Gaddafi, leader of Libya, was assassinated by the imperialist puppets Transitional National Council in 2011. Also on this date, October 19th, Russell Charles Means, let me say it right, Oglala Sioux activist for the rights of Native Americans, died in 2012. On this same date, Samora Machel, president of Mozambique, died in 1986. And we always remember his classic work, Establishing People's Power to Serve the
The
Masses.
masses.
Wow, that's a
Mhm.
beautiful piece, isn't it?
Yes, yes,
Wow.
indeed. Well,
And on the 20th of October, 5th Pan African Congress opened in London in 1945. You talked about that in many occasions, Pa. About that whole Pan African Congress in 1945. That was a hallmark one, wasn't it?
a great, a great struggle there that changed the face of Pan Africanism, almost saying, take Pan Africanism back to the continent of Africa.
Wow.
Yeah, this is great revolutionary tribute to some of our giants, to people who we look forward to looking at.
And
And
it's beautiful. I mean, and we're not even getting to some of these dates that are on the calendar, or some of these dates that we can't even fit in the calendar. But Pa, when we deal with our youth, we always teach them that we know our people and the people make history each and every day, don't we? Whether there's something on the calendar or not.
or not, yes.
That's
Yeah.
right. And
And
go
talking
ahead.
about Africa, this what it reflects is the fact that Africa is really on fire.
Mm.
Uh, and Haiti, in general, is a continuous lesson to us
It
that the struggle continues under the hardship that they encounter, and how they encounter and struggle for the liberation of Haiti still continues. On the calendar, we
and
have
that,
this
I
one.
mean, that's an important point. And just
Yeah.
before you go ahead and tell us about that and
Mhm,
give us that important information, Pa, I just
mhm.
want to give a shout, or because we decided to give a shout out to Black Alliance for Peace, because all this month of October, is their international month of action against
Right.
AFRICOM.
Mhm.
And so it's been going on. We're toward the end of the month now, but we still want to do that shout out for them. And we've been endorsed, this whole month of action against AFRICOM, the PRSP, Pan African Revolutionary Socialist Party. Please visit their site,
Yes.
blackallianceforpeace.com, and you'll see many, many of the things that they've done just in this one month. Black Alliance for Peace.
Thank you. And it is critical to do that because they have expressed not only Africa on fire, but also that Africa is at war.
Wow.
And we should celebrate that and congratulate them.
Yes.
Now, with Haiti, let me start this. So we always will quote our giant revolutionary that says the total liberation and the unification of Africa under an all African socialist government must be the primary objective of all African revolutionaries throughout the world. It is an objective which, when we achieve, will bring about the fulfillment of the aspirations of Africans and people of African descent everywhere, by Kwame Nkrumah in Class Struggle in Africa, page 88. The Haitian struggle began at the end, of the 18th century and completed in the 19th century. Haiti carried out the only real or one of the real revolutionaries of the era when enslaved Africans overthrew their European enslavers. They then defeated the three most powerful European armies sent to fight them: the French, the Spanish, and the British. Haiti did not confine its struggles to its own island. Immediately, it championed the fight for independence, and the destruction of slavery throughout South America and the Caribbean. Haitians were, for example, a major supporter of Simon Bolivar and the Bolivarian Revolution. Because of this support and the fear of other revolutions by enslaved Africans, Western imperialists colluded to try and cripple Haiti's development. Key among them was the United States. Beginning in 1915, the U.S. invaded and has continued to invade Haiti, imposing and supporting neo-colonial dictators. Mainly because of these invasions and the imposition of succession of puppet leaders, Haiti has become the poorest country in the Western Hemisphere. Today, Haitians are scattered throughout the Americas in search of a better life and more opportunities. In fact, they have been seeking asylum to Central America for nearly a decade, arriving at the U.S. border in 2021, whom horse-mounted borders uh, patrol agents chase and whip them in a manner reminiscent of the slave catching era in the U.S. in the 19th century. However, along with the scattering of Haitian people comes the legacy of revolutionary struggle, which will enrich the overall struggle for the Pan-Africanism worldwide. Now things have changed, but they have changed to the worse in so many different ways today. That the struggle of neocolonialism, in the way we see it in Africa, has totally manifested itself with the outside control of different forces, especially the United States, continuously trying to conquer and dominate the continent of South America, Central America, and Haiti, for that matter,
That's right.
reminding African people that we can never have absolute independence in their faces.
It's such an important point, in that whole thing that Nkrumah said, that racism has become so tied and intricated, intertwined with capitalism, that you see in terms of African people, the treatment they receive, like you mentioned,
Mhm.
Pa, when they were on the border of the U.S. and we've never seen that before with any other group of people, even those coming out of Central America, South America, just whipping them like they slaves,
Yeah,
So,
yeah,
that part that you read about horse-mounted border patrol agents chasing them and whipping
right.
them, it just reminded us of that whole slave catching era
Yeah,
in the
and
in
the
the U.S.
and the big difference in terms of like looking at what is happening in the Ukraine, opening all the borders, inviting them into America, and refusing to do that to Haiti, which contributed a great deal. For
Wow.
example, in the building of France, when during the time of the enslavement of our people in Haiti, during their struggle, they have contributed most capital in the building, under consideration of what we call now French civilization.
Isn't that amazing?
Yes, and
It is it's sad. It just reminds us and takes us back to where you started with the whole quotation from Nkrumah.
Nkrumah, yeah,
That no uh, these states, these we call them states because we see them as all a part of a unified socialist Africa, but no state or independent country that's African can ever hope to achieve true independence until Africa is unified socialist. And then we can all, I guess, is not I guess, but we can all then talk about true independence and true liberation. And I think we're going to say something about that a little later. But, you know, what
Hmm.
you did when you said things have changed some, we talk about this calendar, the piece that you just read, being written back in December, last December. And since we released this calendar, this 2022 calendar on
22.
the
Hmm.
African world is on fire and only a united socialist Africa can extinguish it, the point is still well taken, as you mentioned. But also, we know that changes have occurred in Haiti as well as throughout the rest of the world since we composed this calendar. And because things are dynamic, you know, the whole
Yeah.
conditions throughout the world, including Africa, are dynamic, always changing. We understand that from philosophical conscientism, you know, a part of
Hmm.
which is dialectical and historical materialism.
Yeah.
So,
Hmm.
you know, we definitely understand that. So, what we like to do today is really pick up on some of these things that are happening recently in Haiti that are occurring since we produced the calendar. And we are delighted to have or to bring on with us a person who is very familiar with the conditions that are happening in Haiti today. And we're going to bring him on right now. So welcome, welcome, welcome. We were just
Welcome, brother. Kweku. Brother
Hey,
Park.
Fajuf.
Yeah. How are you, my brother?
Oh, revolutionary. How are you?
We are great. We are great. Just struggling for the liberation of our
Yes.
people. 24
Yes,
7.
indeed.
Yes, my
Yes,
Yeah.
brother.
indeed.
Yeah. Um,
So
so,
quite cool. We just wanted to see if first if you can introduce yourself to our listeners and say something about your organization.
mhm.
Sure thing. Sure thing. First and foremost, gratitude for the invitation to be a part of this discussion. My name is Kweku Lumumba. I serve as the External Relations Coordinator for an organization that's based in Haiti. Was created by Haitians and is staffed by Haitians. The organization's acronym is COSA, and it stands for Comité Citoyen Socialiste pour Sauver Haïti, which roughly translates into English as Socialist Citizens Working Together to Save Haiti. So we're glad to be here to have a
Wow.
discussion about what it is that we do and what needs to be done.
Oh, that's beautiful. Just to have you here so you can share with us what's going on. Wonderful and welcome.
Yeah.
Thank you very
Brother,
much.
Brother Sekou, let me ask you the present unfolding of contradictions in Haiti are so strikingly similar, in terms of neo-colonial Africa. How the external enemy is in cohort with the internal enemies, you know, looking at the different things, creating puppets and what have you. I can look at the gangsterism that they are talking about in Haiti, the police working side by side with the police force working side by side with the gangsters organized, well organized thoroughly, a little bit different from how it was organized in the United States. Can you please expand on that, like almost like the present neo-colonial state, if you will, that is occurring in Haiti?
Yeah, sure. It is similar because the same actors are influencing the affairs in Haiti as as they are across Africa today.
Yes, indeed.
So when we look at what's going on in Haiti as far as those contradictions that you mentioned, it's a shame that in spite of the liberation effort, the successful liberation effort of 1804 that led to the independence of the space and the state and the expansion of that revolution throughout the Americas and really throughout the world. Today, Haiti is in a neo-colonial position, and those imperialists that contribute to that or manipulate that or control that, if you will, are under the direction of the United States of America. So before, in that colonial period of 1804, the United States was not the direct empire that was controlling that space. They were dealing with France and fighting against Spain and Britain and so on and so forth. But today, in the 21st century and in the 20th century, the United States has been the primary imperialist force that has contributed to Haiti's neocolonial status.
And just a follow up question, Kwaku, is this under the guise of this core group that is supposed to be playing such a role in Haiti?
It is under the guise of the core group, which includes other organizations like Canada and France, other international players that are under the direction of the United States of America. But it's not just the core group. Unfortunately, there's also an internal group of billionaire capitalists that work hand in hand with this core group to make sure that Haiti is not what it was supposed to be as far as a liberated socialist independent space, but that it remains what I identify as an anarcho-capitalist state. That was another contradiction because people like to say that socialism leads to failed states, but they talk about how poor Haiti is and the fact that Haiti in many ways is a failed state, but they fail to mention that Haiti is a capitalist state, par excellence. And it is because of this excellent and pure capitalism that has set in Haiti that it is a failed state. And so we recognize that as socialists, we recognize that as organizers, and we are working hard to highlight these kinds of contradictions among the population so that they can move forward in a way that is socialist and is informed by this reality so that we can move to something that makes more sense for the masses of the people.
And that gets back to that point that Pi started off with in terms of how much Haiti resembles a state in Africa. You know what I mean? Because as you mentioned, you talked about the puppets, the neo-colonial puppets, really, or the capitalist puppets, however you want to say it. And someone once said it was basically 5 families that are pretty much controlling things. Is that your understanding, Kwaku?
Yeah, by and large, and unfortunately, that those families are not African or of African descent. They're, by the terms of nationality, they're Haitian. They have Haitian citizenship. They were born there, but they descend from families outside of the African purview, and they in that same way they descend into a society where a colorism still exists in Haiti. The face of Haiti is black, but the power brokers are not. They're mulatto at best. And that's the situation that the revolution failed to rectify or resolve. This colorism, elite status, the stratification of the society, this class struggle that has been ongoing since the 17th century, or really, yeah, of course, since then, and has been exacerbated in the 21st century by these families that dominate the economy of Haiti. And when we see these gangs that are all over different news channels, of course, the gang leaders are advertisations. They're black men. But you don't get to see at all the families that are funding them. So if you
Ah,
look at a barbecue, for example, Jimmy Cherizier, he's public enemy number one as far as the United Nations goes
yeah.
right now, and but he he's not rich. You know, his name is barbecue because his
Mm-hmm.
mother sold goods. She sold barbecue on the street. She was a street vendor. He doesn't come from wealth in Haiti. There are wealthy black Haitians, but he's not one
Mm-hmm.
of them. He doesn't come from one of those families. So the only way that he and his gang are able to afford the weapons, the U.S. made weapons, the U.S. made ammunition that they have and they employ against the population, is because the Mevs family funds them. That's Yuri Mevs, Gregory Mevs, Fritz Mevs, these people who control over 90% of the imported food to
Uh-huh.
the island,
Mm.
and tens of millions of gallons of fuel capacity. So these people, they're not the ones being sanctioned. They're not the ones being having their face plastered on the news. So we have to ask ourselves why that is and highlight those contradictions so that we can actually resolve the issues as opposed to just removing another gang leader from the street.
On the streets. And then
Yeah.
it is considered that the intense population that you have there and the impact that is coming from the contradiction that exacerbated with Venezuela. And what is the presence of the Haitian women in this whole configuration and youth and and young children that going through? My understanding is the limitations in terms of allowing most Haitian young people to go to school.
Yes,
Yeah.
this has really been a disruption to school
Hmm.
life for students because, in spite of the best efforts of schools and families, the constant destabilization leads to them going into school and then school being
Hmm.
shut down. So they're never able to get some consistent schooling. And of course, people all over the African world are dealing with that to a degree
Mm-hmm.
because of this COVID-19 pandemic that has shut
Yeah.
things down periodically in different spaces. But in Haiti, it's less a matter of COVID-19 and more a matter of capitalism and what these capitalist families have done to the environment because they're going to war with each other because they
Hmm.
want to monopolize their control of the economy. So they're fighting each other using the average Haitian as a proxy in this war. And the
Hmm.
students, the children, are paying the price in their education. The woman, as you asked before, as caretakers of these families, while a lot of the men are fighting and trying to be breadwinners, the women are also taking care of the children and organizing. We have plenty of women who have or who are lead organizers in organizations to undo this system and put a just system in place. And so women are multitasking in IT
Hmm.
in ways that we haven't had to see before.
And that takes us up. I mean, I think what you've done in you and Pi is really look at what's happening in terms of people in general in Haiti. I guess in terms of things that are mentioned like cholera and no access to fuel and other kinds of things. Can you speak to some of those general conditions that the people are faced with in Haiti?
Yeah, and I'm glad that you mentioned cholera because we identify that as biological warfare against the population because cholera was not in Haiti at all before the United Nations occupation of the island from
Hmm.
2004 to 2017. In particular, it emerged after the earthquake in 2010, and it was because the waste, the fecal matter from UN troops was being dumped into the water supply. So the water table was contaminated across the country deliberately. People have been using, uh, natural resources as far as relieving themselves, um, in IET for since time immemorial, and cholera has never emerged. So we understand that there's a deliberate thing that happened after the earthquake to
Mm.
exacerbate the situation that the earthquake caused and create a crisis that would facilitate more non-governmental organizations that could come in and set up shop and continue to exploit the health crisis of the average Haitian. Because now, when we're talking about the contradiction of capitalism, what you see now, instead of being able to drink the natural spring water that Haitians were able to before, they have to buy bottled water. And that's the bottled water companies are not Haitian. They're imported, like Culligan. Culligan is the main producer of this bottled water or bagged water in IET. And so they only can dominate that space because of the cholera crisis, where now the average Haitian in the countryside and in the urban areas can't access clean spring water anymore. They have to buy bottled water in order to make sure they're not contaminating themselves with cholera.
And just a quick follow up question. So some of these food sources coming in, supposedly being donated, are being controlled by these corrupt NGOs, or how is that working? I mean, whether you talk about some bottled water or some foods or anything else, is this something that has to go through these NGOs in Haiti?
Yes, and that has happened after the earthquake. The earthquake, like these disaster capitalists like to say, was a crisis that they couldn't let pass. You have to take advantage of every crisis, as far as they're concerned. And the 2010 earthquake ushered in a NGO state in Haiti. The economy became dominated, oversaturated by NGOs that were able to come in and provide services that the state should have been providing. But at the time, the state was put in place by the United States Secretary of State, Hillary Clinton. And so that state was put there to facilitate just that, the influx of foreign NGOs into the space that could then control the economy, control what goods and services are coming in and coming out, and make sure that IET cannot be independent and self-sufficient as far as any of these sectors of human activity, whether it's food production, whether it's water, whether it's health, whether it's education. All of these things are outsourced. And so now the average Haitian is at the mercy of these NGOs that provide very little service. And people got to see that with the Red Cross after the earthquake, when they had that review of what they actually did and realized they only built 6 homes. And they defended themselves by saying, well, the territory there, as far as navigating ownership of land and deeds and things like that, was too difficult. And so we decided, and this is the Red Cross saying this, and I was actually in the room in the meeting in Atlanta when this happened. The person in charge of that said, it was too difficult. So the Red Cross decided to divert those funds that people donated internationally for those people who had lost their homes. They decided on their own, without consulting with donors, without consulting with Haitians in need, to divert those funds to other things. And so people continued to be homeless in Haiti, unbeknown to those people who donated money so that homes could be built for people who needed it. And so those kind of things happen with most of those NGOs, that money is sent and those NGOs decide, well, we're not going to use this money for the people who need it. We're going to use it for something else, especially in the case of international NGOs, where they can divert those funds to another country altogether without any sort of oversight from donors or Haitians who supposedly are benefiting from these services.
It is a classic case of neocolonialism, as in Africa.
Yes, indeed.
How is the impact? How is it affecting the youth? And what are organizations doing in terms of mobilizing the youth, who are always very active in since 2018 in the struggle out in the street and the massive detention camps that they have created.
Yes. Well, we have to understand that the youth are leading these organization, the
Uh-huh.
movements at the very least, in large part, and they're paying the price as far as putting their bodies and their lives on the line because they don't have the sorts of um, ties I would think, or entanglements that I would think that an older person has as far as being concerned of like, well, I have to take care of my children, I have to take care of these bills, and so forth and so on and so forth. They've been disenfranchised and deprived of even being able to be in those positions. They've been destabilized as far as education, and so they have nothing but time and energy to
Mm-hmm.
contribute to pushing forward a movement that will transform the environment to a space in which human beings can live like human beings. That's the clarion call of Haiti. O monde qui vive tant que monde. And that is what the average young person wants, to be able to have the same access that any other person deserves to have as far as being able to live, provide for their family, get education, eat quality food, have gainful employment so that they can work for the betterment of their society. The young people in their 20s are the ones that are out in the street. They're the ones who are braving tear gas. They're the ones who are braving the bullets. They're the ones who are braving cholera, braving starvation, braving all these things just so that they can highlight these contradictions and then move the nation in a direction that makes more sense for the average Haitian. And so they're very involved. They're very engaged and they're very convicted to the revolution that needs to happen in Haiti.
And see, this is why you can't rely on capitalist media, and we don't. I mean, we know how capitalist media portray everybody as either rioters or gang members or something. So in relation to Haiti, it's always the idea that these people who are out there protesting and struggling are a bunch of youth gangs that are up to no good. That kind of
Yep.
impression is being pushed out there for us. But we know, because we've studied history, that youth are the spark of revolution. And like you said, they're out there and they say, I don't have anything to lose, so we're going to get out there and make change. And that's such an important point that you brought up, Kwaku. And
Yes,
and
thank you.
the other thing is just to discuss the role that organizations like yours and ours, the Pan African Revolutionary Socialist Party, can play, in trying to do something to help. And what do you think we could do? Uh, I know we're doing what we're doing. That is, politically educating. Just by having you here, it is a major contribution to just share what you know, to contradict that kind of propaganda coming out of the capitalist media. So we appreciate that. But anything else you can think of that we can do to help, we would love to hear.
Yeah, well, organization is the key to
Mm-hmm.
to the success of our movements. We have this idea that if we just get out in the streets or if we just expend enough energy that we can change things for the better and it'll stay that way. But it's important for us and our people to understand that yes, a very strong force can transform the environment, but it'll be organization that sustains that. An organization that directs that energy so that we will get the outcomes that we want in the first place. And getting, you know, Haiti is a place in which there are tons of organizations. The Haitian
Mm-hmm.
people are a very organized people. It's just a matter of getting that political education consistently to our people, and that's something that we can do. That we're doing now. It just has to be consistent because there are things that are happening that are covert operations that are happening that our people in mass are not aware of. And they happen to become aware of it after the fact. After the United States removes one of its agents from the field, that's when people realize, oh, that person was an agent this whole time.
Mm.
But certain organizations like ours realize that. So we're working to politically educate the masses so they won't be duped time and time again by these agents that are sent in to cause discord, like some of these so-called gang leaders that we know are placed there strategically to cause these problems in the environment, and then even posed to look like revolutionaries when they're just opportunists. They're just agents of the neo-colonial state.
Your colonial
So
state
that
like
kind of,
Toto.
yeah, yeah, absolutely. So the political education is really key, so that our people can be clear about what needs to be done, who's who, and how it is that we can go about um, really having real revolution and not something that is just painted on the facade of revolution in the space. The other thing is providing resources. That being international, we may have access to resources that our comrades on the ground in Haiti don't have access to. But if we can get those things, like for example, we have brothers and sisters who are organizing consistently nonviolent civil disobedience campaigns. And in this, they're going up against the police that are supposedly, in the propaganda internationally, the police are fighting against armed gangs. But in fact, the police that are being armed by the United States and Canada with these camouflage military equipment and these high capacity weapons, they're fighting against nonviolent civil disobedient organizers. And
Mm.
these organizers know that they will be shot, that some of them will be shot. They know that they'll be attacked and brutalized and sent to the hospital. What they're asking for is medicine. What they're asking for is food so that they can have the energy to fight. So, when we can send in money to these comrades so that they can purchase the medicine, because they'll be able to purchase medicine from private facilities on the island that are supplied, in some cases by comrades in Cuba. So they can get
Mm-hmm.
the medicine, but they can't afford it in all cases. So when we can provide them this, they can prepare and say, okay, you got shot. We can provide the medicine that you need to recover. We're hungry. We need the food that we need to keep our strength up to continue to do these campaigns of civil disobedience, to destabilize the police forces, to destabilize the neo-colonial state until we win. These are the kind of things that they're asking for. They're not asking for us to send down weapons. They're not asking for us to establish much for them. They're just asking for sustenance so that they can continue the fight. And those are some of the things that we may be able to offer them, as well as providing platforms like this where their voices can be heard. Platforms similar to this where images can be seen that go against the neo-colonial propaganda that is being shared 24/7 on corporate capitalist news cycles.
So you can give us, Kwaku, some your website information, or our listeners some information. So if they can donate or make a contribution, that they can send it.
Absolutely. The website is K as in kangaroo, O as in ostrich, three S's as in shark. So that's KOSSSA as in apple.com. That's KOSA.com. That is our website. You can access our external relations office through the website. You can donate through the website. And you can also call the number for the external relations office if you're interested in having a conversation that way. The number is 864-863-0305. Once again, the external relation office number is 864-863-0305. And the website again is kosa.com. That's KOSSSA.com.
That's
Okay.
beautiful. And Pa, you had another question, I think, right?
Well, Well, no, I mean, we just want to thank the brother,
Well, the
and
one just one quick thing. Then
yeah,
it just occurred to me. That's all.
hmm
And we mentioned before you came on board, Kwaku, the effort that Black Alliance for Peace has mounted for the month of October, bringing all so many organizations together to try to highlight, what AFRICOM is doing throughout Africa. And it's that kind of thing. If we can help in that way as well, Kwame Nkrumah called for an all African committee for political coordination. Just we have so many organizations out there. If once in a while we can come together, like Black Alliance for Peace brought us together in the month of October, so that we can all do something in regard to this particular plight that they are calling up, action against AFRICOM. But we can do some kind of action for Haiti as a kind of coalition, as a group of organizations. If we can help to politically educate or do anything in that way, that would be great too, because our efforts is to not just act as single organizations all the time, but to come together as an all African committee for political education or political coordination, as Nkrumah called, so that we can make sure our message is getting out to a much wider audience. Does that make sense, Kwaku?
It makes absolute sense. It's what's needed in this day and time. It's what we need to continue to move forward, and we're ready and willing to do so.
Oh, that's beautiful.
our
I
brother, it's a
cut you
need for
off.
the united front. Yeah,
Yes, yes,
and organize our people globally.
yes.
What I just
Absolutely.
heard in about Haiti is also the problem in Africa, in the Caribbean, and elsewhere. And we need to intensify to let the world understand that the struggle is our struggle. We're the only ones, and Africa is the center of our struggle in order to liberate people in the diaspora and everywhere on the face of the earth. So Africa, thanks you well, bro. And
And
the
and
struggle continues.
and Kwaku, we always, because we are Nkrumahs, inside Pan African Revolutionary Socialist Party, and that's because we buy into the point that Nkrumah made, that how can there be a nation without political power? If you're weak, how can you stand as an independent nation? He says it's a contradiction in terms. The black nation can come into existence only when Africa is totally free and there's an all African socialist government that has been formed. So I know we continue to struggle, but the idea of functioning as a separate state, even if you look at Africa, to think of any one state functioning in this day and age with the capitalist world surrounding us, the idea too, I hope, that we work for a united socialist Africa to raise us all up. We always say land
Yes.
equals wealth, equals power, equals respect, equals liberation. And it's no land mass as rich or richer than Africa. It's just not in our control. And wealth is being sucked out. But we
That's right.
definitely, need to talk as well about, working toward a united socialist Africa.
Absolutely. That's the goal of Pan Africanism.
That's right.
Okay, forward, bro. Okay,
Forward.
Mama.
We thank you so very much. We
Thank you.
wow, all this good information is here and ready, and I know our people are going to be so thankful for it. We thank you
hmm
so very much, and we hope we can bring you on again at some point.
Okay, and we
I'm
remain in
always
contact. Remain in contact, my brother. Forward.
forward.
hmm
I thank you very much and look forward to the next opportunity.
Okay,
Okay.
Kwaku. Kwaku Lumumba, everybody. Thank you so much.
Thank you.
Man, you're getting pretty good with this thing here now.
Well, it's been some years now. We are so thankful for Kwaku Lumumba, Kossa,
Really?
Kossa. We are
Mm-hmm.
so thankful, and really all throughout 2022, and we're at the end of it now. But so what? At times with the help of invited guests like Kwaku, our
Mm-hmm.
focus will be on the theme of our 2022 calendar. The African world is on fire,
Mm-hmm.
highlighting the current reality of many places throughout the African world. And we've done these already. We highlighted the current reality, the struggle in Libya, in Ethiopia, in the Democratic Republic of the Congo, in Tanzania. We highlighted Brazil, and today we highlighted Haiti, and we're coming to the United States. What do you say, Pa?
So join us next month when we will discuss the African wall. It's on fire. United States, United Snakes. We understand the real situation of capitalism and imperialism,
I'm telling you.
or whatever.
Meanwhile, please visit our website, Pan African Revolutionary Socialist Party.org. Email us at panafricanrsp@gmail.com. Like us on soundcloud.com. Visit us on YouTube and leave comments on our Facebook page, www.facebook.com/Pan African Socialist /.
And remember, organization is the everything, is the key. You either join the Pan African Revolutionary Socialist Party or some other revolutionary Pan African Socialist organization. Taking a union of African socialist states is on the horizon. And
I'm in love with Lady Haiti, and when they call me to the Grammys, I wrap the flag all around me, cause I'm in love with Lady Haiti. I'm so in love they call me crazy. I left the music with the Haiti, even though they try to stop me. I seen the earth shake right under her feet. She told me, baby, don't weep. I'm sitting on Oprah, tears in my eyes. I knew your story ever since a kid. Developed a crush when I heard what you did. 1804, you made my people free. You the reason I feel I could be anything. She in the white shirt, under the hot sun. Love when she talking that Creole. Goddamn belle femme. I'm in love with Lady Haiti, and when they call me to the Grammys, I wrap the flag all around me, cause I'm in love with Lady Haiti. I'm so in love they call me crazy. I left the music with the Haiti, even though they try to stop me. I'm in love with Lady Haiti. Miss Haiti. Tried to make you turn on me for real. Say I stole everything that we built. You told me don't bother. Truth's in my eyes. From the bottom of the bucket straight to the top. Every time you around, I can feel the clock stop. Despite what they think, we got a chance. Cause we got one last dance. She in the white shirt, under the hot sun. Hey. Love when she talking that Creole. Goddamn belle femme. I'm in love with Lady Haiti, and when they call me to the Grammys, I wrap the flag all around me, cause I'm in love with Lady Haiti. I'm so in love they call me crazy. I left the music with the Haiti, even though they try to stop
ça qu'a fait. Chérie Haïti, maman, ça qu'a fait. Les roues tombées, gars des gens où lever. Les roues levées, gars des gens où prend force. Et les roues prend force, pas que mon cap qu'aimé ou bien pour déraper avec deux ailes sous côté. Me yo, attaquer, n'attaquer, non pas j'aime paniquer. Lady,